No, no. You keep it here. I'm the mic there. You want one more mic there? Yeah, one more. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
Good morning, esteemed panelists, distinguished guests, faculty members, and dear students. Welcome to day 2 of International Conference titled Right to Health in the Digital Era, Navigating Law, Ethics, and Policies. Today, we have an exciting panel discussion lined up where we will deliver deeper into the complexities of health, law, ethics, in digital era. The session promises to be thought-provoking, of exchanging ideas with insights from some of the most distinguished experts in the field of law, medicine, and technology. Let us begin by introducing the esteemed panelist. The chief guest for today is Professor Dr. Venkatrao, is highly esteemed academician and legal scholar with over 45 years of teaching experience. Currently, currently serving as a Vice Chancellor of Indian International University of Legal Education and Research in Goa. He has held prominent leadership roles in legal education, including Vice Chancellor of National Law School of Indian University, Bangalore, and Chairperson of Vivekananda School of Law and Legal Studies in New Delhi. With distinguished career, Professor Rao has contributed significantly to legal education and research, authoring nine books, publishing over 150 papers. He has guided numerous PhD and LLD students and has been recognized with prestigious awards, including the Professor N.R. Madhav Menon Best Law Teacher Award of 2018 and Attorney General K. Parasan Award for Outstanding Scholarship in Legal Education in 2019. Professor Rao academic qualification includes BA Honors, MA, ML, PhD, and Honorary LLD. He has served on various statutory bodies, including Bar Council of India, and has been an independent director in several public sectors undertakings. His extensive international exposure includes academic visits to over 30 countries, further solidifying his reputations as a global leader in legal education. We are happy to have you with us, sir. The second guest of honor for today's panel discussion is Vivek Madi. Dr. Vivek Madi is a highly qualified professional with a diverse background in medicine, law, and bioethics. He holds an MBBS and MD in obstetricians and gynecology and has further specialized in consumer law, cyber forensics, and bioethics through various postgraduate diplomas. Driven by passion for improving women and children's health, Dr. Maddy has always trained in hospital administration and qualified as a lawyer to advocate for patients' rights and address disparities in clinical care. We are happy to have you with us, sir. The second guest of honor for today's panel discussion is Professor Subhajit Basu. Professor Subhajit Basu is a leading academician at the School of Law, University of Leeds, with expertise in information technology law, data protection, and the legal and ethical challenges posed by emerging technologies. His research focuses on intersections of law, technology, society, particularly in areas such as digital privacy, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and e-governance. With a strong interdisciplinary approach, Professor Basu explores how legal frames can adapt to the rapid advancement in technology, ensuring accountability, transparency, and protection of individual rights. Thank you, sir. We are happy to have you here.
Good morning to all the esteemed dignitaries on the dais and dear students. I, on behalf of School of Law and on behalf of SRM Institute of Science and Technology welcome all the dignitaries today for the panel discussion, which is scheduled from now onwards. So my first question to Professor Rao. Sir, you have delivered a lecture on importance of ethics in life at B.R. Ambedkar University, Sri Karakulam, Andhra Pradesh on April 18, 2023. Sir, can you share your insights with your young and eager medico-legal minds on how they can inculcate ethics in their day-to-day life and their practice without suppressing their conscience too much?
Repeat the question again.
Can you, sir, please share your insights with our young and eager medico-legal minds on how they can inculcate ethics in their
Recording in
day-to-day life
progress.
and practice without suppressing their conscience too much?
I would like to stand so that there is greater visibility. Okay. Because my professor used to say, a teacher should always be standing so that the students will become outstanding. Okay, we want you to become outstanding. Be that as it may, now, this is a momentous morning for me. Before answering the question straight away, I put my hair. Because here we have 4 generations. The first one led by me. The second one is led by your dean, who happens to be my student. Okay. The third generation, Dr. Subhajit Basu and others, who are the future hopes. And the youngest generation are the
Recording
little
start.
angels, who are the torchbearers of 21st century, and who are required to take care of the baton when we hand it over to you. And I would just ask you one question before answering that question. During French Revolution, the famous call was, man is born free, but he is everywhere in chains. But today, the same Rousseau comes, he would come and say, man is born free, but he is everywhere in digital change. Remember. Now, the most important question that is required to be answered before you look at technology and as to how you can face it is, now, what Steve Jobs said about technology. Just before his death, he said, how happy and peaceful was life when Apple and BlackBerry were just fruits. He said, how happy and peaceful was life when Apple and BlackBerry were just fruits. What he meant was, technology should not dehumanize us. The human element in law, the humane element in technology must judiciously get juxtaposed so that technology would serve the needs of humanity. Technology should never dehumanize us. I'll just tell you what Klaus Schwab, the president of Davos Economic Forum, and Professor Basu is an expert in that. I'm trying to dabble, okay? And who wrote a book called Fourth Industrial Revolution, he said, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, unlike the earlier industrial revolutions, is a systems revolution and not a product revolution. You have robots, you have Internet of Things, but he said only one thing. A robot can replicate your brain, but a robot can never replicate your soul, which is full of creativity. A robot can never replicate your heart, which is full of passion and compassion. And therefore he said, if we are not to be dominated by technology, there must be a new human renaissance, so that technology would judiciously help us. And I'm sure this 2-day international conference of SRM University would be the dawn of that new human renaissance, where it would make us more responsible and responsive. Please understand one thing. When you pass through the turbulent times of COVID, you must have understood one very important point. The COVID did not discriminate between the individuals, but the impact of COVID has discriminated between individuals. It's a very important point. Okay. Rich, poor, middle class, everyone was affected. But the impact factor. So when you look at the technology aspect of it, one question that you must ask young persons is, who is important? Is it the patient that is important, or is it the patent that is important? Now, the choice between patent and patient. And when the medicines were denied to most of the people in the world, and one interesting fact I will tell you, people speak about research and development in medicine, billions of dollars being spent. But if you go deep into it, you will find R&D takes place only in case of those medicines which the rich can buy. Number of poor countries are affected by diseases like tuberculosis and malaria, and there is documented evidence which shows that only 0.09% of R&D is spent on those medicines. And more than 31% of R&D is spent on only those medicines which can purchase. That means, is there a bias in the system itself? Because the objective of a seminar, please remember young minds, is not to provide you ready-made solutions, but to enable you to raise the right questions. Because always your answers may reflect your knowledge, but your questions will reflect your thinking capacity. Ask those questions whether technology is helpful to the marginalized. Incidentally, 22nd March, what is this day famous for? Anyone? The United Nations had declared 22nd March as World Water Day. Today is World Water Day. And I should give you the example of the plight of a woman in the state of Rajasthan, where they would be walking 40 kilometers a day to fetch 2 buckets of potable water. And they continuously walk for 5 to 10 years. By the time they are 30 or 35, they have orthopedic diseases around the waist, and they became totally disabled. Now, what is that we are going to do? So the first question that you are required to ask is there a skewed distribution of resources that are available? Has time come for us to have democratic and equitable distribution of resources? Okay. And where does this AI stand? Where does the digital technology stand? And how can we help it? Each one of you must become a foot soldier. And during the course of the panel discussion, I'll come back to you again. These are only by way of introductory remarks. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So I have a question for Shubhajit, sir. Sir, could you please elaborate and differentiate the term data protection laws, data transparency accuracy laws, and data sharing laws? Also, sir, include examples so that even the medical fraternity and first-year law students can understand.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chatterjee, for the question. So, data protection law, what we most of the time look at it as from a privacy law point of view, is actually a data transparency law, or it is a data sharing law, and you can also interpret it as is a law which allows companies, allows us to share data. It gives a perception of privacy, but it is not a privacy law. So I'll give you an example. Suppose you go to your bank and you ask your bank, are you holding data on me? The bank will always say that, yes, I'm holding data on you. What you can ask them is whether the data that they're holding on you, about you, is correct or not, it's accurate or not. So data protection law is also a data accuracy law. The history of data protection is very European. It's an European project which started after the Second World War. I was speaking about this before. It started after Second World War because the Nazi state, information was collected indiscriminately. What was never checked, whether that information was accurate or not. Because for the Nazi state, and later on the Stasi state, that is the communist Russia, collection of information was important, but accuracy of that information was never important. For that purpose, European Union brought data protection law to ensure human rights aspect, which is your privacy. And they ensured that the data protection law will protect the user, the data subjects, that accuracy of that data. But data protection law does not give you the right to stop someone from sharing data legally. As long the data is shared legally for a specified purpose, it's stored for a specified purpose, it is used for a specified purpose, it is fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. My next question is for Dr. Vivek, sir. So we are in the cusp of fifth industrial revolution, where the line between human and computer starts to disappear. Accentuated by the AI's acceleration, we are seeing a multitude of interdisciplinary possibilities. Could you, sir, please share your insights on how this impacts the ethics of medico-legal, medical technology, and healthcare experts?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Before I address to your question, I would like to add few things to what Professor Subhajit said, to go on to what he mentioned. Yes, it all started with Nazis, but we also like to say where ethics comes into play, because that's where the ethics has really started. People, the Nazis had taken information from the sources, that is the people. But was there consent given? No. That's where consent comes. From society, ethics talks about individualism. We went to individual rights, and that's where people realize, yes, we need to take consent from people before you take information from them. And that's where we, even in medical field, feel that if you want to operate on somebody, you need to take consent. Otherwise, it leads to battery assault. So a consent is a very important process we all ensure before we go on to do anything. So, and individual rights. So you need to give autonomy to your patients. Their decision-making rights are very important. So it's very, very important that you explain what treatment you're giving, and the duty of a doctor is to give complete information regarding the treatment, the risk benefits, and alternatives to the treatment, and help the patient to make a decision. Now, let me go to the question what you said. Yes, how AI is going to impact our field.
Yes, sir.
Yes. It's going to, what is AI? It is an alternative to human mind, to human skills. So therefore, this is where AI comes into place, and it is going to make a big difference in making diagnosis, treatment. It's going to help a doctor to make decisions regarding the treatment. It's also going to take away the clinical aspects of a doctor. A doctor spends a lot of time in adding data, making data of patients. So you might have seen when you meet a doctor, he keeps writing notes, what you have mentioned about your disease. All that is going to be removed. AI is going to come with speech recognition. The topics what you're going to talk about, the conversation is going to be recorded in a text form and then digitalized. So that is going to give extra time for the doctor to spend in counseling your patients. So that's going to help. Yes, treatments, then it goes to robotic surgery. It's going to be more accurate in the treatment process. Your blood loss would be less. So, and the recovery rate, post-op recovery rate would also be much better. So these are the better things. Not only that, in research, it's going to be much easier with AI. Want research things to get data, to analyze data, it's going to be much easier. So research is going to be a big boon, especially when leading to new drug formation, drug delivery. It's going to help. Sorry. Then the third form is what we have in education. Yes, the way we are going to teach up students, AI is going to make a big difference. All of you would be learning from an AI rather from the didactic teaching what you have right now in colleges. You're going to learn your law points or your case presentation and come and discuss in a classroom. That's how education is going to change, big change with the AI driven technology coming in. So education too is going to change. So you have research, education, and practice, medical practice going to change a lot with AI. But then AI comes with its concerns and complexities. Yes, we need to make a framework because there's going to be a lot of bias in this system. And not only that, there is also a divide, a rich and poor divide when you're going to come to regarding treatment and access to AI. So we are going to look into a lot of changes in the field of healthcare.
Thank you. Sure, sir.
Just by way of abundant clarification, because in a panel discussion, there must be thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Remember?
Absolutely, sir.
Now, first thing is, understand the limitation of law. Law cannot regulate the greed of human beings. Nor law can instill character in human beings. The limitation of law, it cannot regulate the greed. And therefore, however effective may be the legal regime, it may not make you a good human being. In fact, former Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, Alan Warren, when he was asked to address students of a university like this, he addressed them, and at the end of that, a question was asked to him. From these brilliant students, whom are you going to appoint as judicial officers? He smiled and said, a good human being who also knows a bit of law. He did not say, I will take gold medalists. A good human being who also knows a bit of law. So essentially, you must be a good human being to take advantage of technology, number one. If I'm not exceeding my brief, I would advise you to read a book called Doctored, D-O-C-T-O-R-E-D, written by a third generation doctor from the United States. His name is Sandeep Jawahar, an Indian. He's a third generation doctor. The entire book is about medical malpractices in the United States. And in multinational hospitals, when specialists are appointed, the first thing that they are advised to do is to know how to fill an insurance claim. And if the doctors protest, they will be removed from service. Now, therefore, it is the money matters that decide. And therefore, focus on the essential goodness, number one. Then artificial intelligence, yes. Last week, Yuval Noah Harari, the famous anthropologist from Israel, had said, I don't call it artificial intelligence, I call it alien intelligence, he said. Why I use the word alien intelligence is because it is created in a laboratory, not from outer space. And this alien intelligence, is it causing digital divide, he asked. beautifully says, we have been successful in demolishing Berlin Wall, but we have created a digital wall. Now, are the benefits being distributed equitably? Yes. And then when it comes to artificial intelligence, hats off to a 9th class student who gave me the definition of artificial intelligence in a debate competition. She said, I have read many books, but I did not understand. But according to me, she said, an attempt to mechanize human thoughts is artificial intelligence. Simply in one sentence, she said, an attempt to mechanize human thoughts. Immediately she said, can all human thoughts be mechanized? There is the limitation of artificial intelligence. Well, I come from a family of doctors. When I got a seat in medicine, my father said, your heart is with literature and law, you join there. And I have no regrets for that. And doctors do a wonderful service, I understand. They find that 25th hour in the day to attend to the service. Yeah, absolutely, I've seen it. But at the same time, the so-called forces of market economy. Market economy always distinguishes between the efficient and the inefficient. But it can never determine what is good and what is just for the society. What is good and what is just for the society is the domain of something else. Okay. And therefore, as youngsters, when you are stepping into the domain of artificial intelligence, digitalization, and concept of health, ask for yourself a question. Does health mean absence of disease only? Does war mean, does peace mean absence of war? No. Peace means well-being. Now, how many of us have that psychological comfort? In the name of connectivity, are we the most disconnected persons? Former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee says, youngsters focus on internet. But they must remember, internet may be important, but internet is more important. Now, is there connectivity to that internet? Because ultimately, it is a human element. Please remember, technology is for human beings. And therefore, I go back to the first point, informed consent. To what extent it is really informed? Remember. Or is there camouflage? And when we say about information, I'm reminded of a very interesting differentiation. Education is not information, but formation. Formation of a complete human being. Now, the first attempt to be in the classrooms, you must teach every subject from ethics perspective. Not just a professional ethics paper as your equal. And you must make you complete human being. And then you will definitely have the advantage of all these things. All the 3 apples, you will have advantage. Starting from Newton. Okay. But otherwise, it will result in what we call George Orwell's order or Frankensteinization. Okay. And Professor Bakshi said he was speaking about privacy. He asked a question, are we still human beings? Or are we living in a post-human world? It's a beautiful question we raises. Is it a post-human world? Do you really have privacy? Only in the law colleges and Supreme Court judgments you find the word privacy said. It had been invaded, absolutely. So, all-round definition of health, all-round definition of well-being, and making of a good human being and limitations of law, you must try to understand because you are going to be the foot soldiers. We have started our second innings in a 5-day test match. You are yet to face the first ball in the IPL league, which is to commence today. Please remember that. Okay. God bless you. Thank you.
So again, the question to you. Sir, to Venkatarao, sir, again. Okay, sir.
There are a few things Professor Rao said which is quite interesting, and I know I'm going to say a few things which Dr. Maddy won't be very happy about. So taking the point of what Professor Rao has been saying about informed consent. So at the moment, I'm writing a paper on how to reconceptualize consent. What I'm arguing is that consent has got no value in information society anymore. How many of you have got an Instagram, Facebook, or X account? Can you raise your hand? All of you have. I know, okay? Don't pretend you don't. How many of you have read the terms and conditions? None. You're going to be lawyers, right? You've signed up to terms and condition without reading a single word. What if Mark Zuckerberg has made you a slave in the terms and conditions? You don't know. From the law point of view, from data protection law point of view, the law requires you that information has to be given for you to be informed. Now, if you choose not to read that information, that is not the fault of the law. Neither is the fault of the provider. The fault is yours. So the concept of informed consent, the way we understood it, has changed because we no longer actually has the choice to make that informed consent. Most of the time, we do not even understand for what purpose the consent is taken. With artificial intelligence, you won't even know for what purpose the data will be used in the future because the people who will take your consent, they don't even know. If you go to a doctor, the doctor will take you, I don't know, doctor will agree, Dr. Mehdi will agree, I had a surgery and the doctor came to me and explained to me, in UK they have an obligation, they have to do it. They explained me everything, what can go right, what can go wrong, and all I was thinking, can you just go and do the surgery? By medical ethics, he says his responsibility and obligation to provide me to the information. Whether I have understood or not, that is something he doesn't look. So how can a consent be informed? Professor Rao was also talking about using of artificial intelligence. Now, yesterday, Dr. Maddy and I sat through a technical panel. We listened to 9 presentations. Of that 9 presentations, 8 of them were written extensively using ChatGPT. 8 of them. And 1 used a little bit of it. The reason I highlighted this, because you could have been, those presenters could have done a much better job if they had done their research, wrote those presentations, read the law, than using the ChatGPT. Because we think ChatGPT does a very good job, but it doesn't. What Professor Rao was saying to you, AI replicates what the information we have put in. AI does not have the capacity to think by itself. So if the information has been provided in a manner which is inaccurate, the outcome will be inaccurate. In a layman's term, we call it garbage in, garbage out. What we do not know in that black box, how that garbage is processed. So of that 8 presentation we listened to, there was no understanding why those presenters were talking about an issue. Because they thought ChatGPT will provide them enough information that they can use to deliver a presentation, and it didn't work. So if you think that artificial intelligence will make you a better thinker, it's wrong. If you think artificial intelligence will make you a better researcher, it's a tool. To some extent, it can. Can it increase your efficiency? Yes, it can. Why? Because it can do things which are repetitive, okay, for the moment. And that can help you. It can find you a case. But our ChatGPT and similar tools, they hallucinate. And I've done search of my name. I've done a search, Subhajit Basu. You go and do it. Subhajit Basu on ChatGPT. It cites that I am an expert in law and microbiology and other things. Why? Because there is not one Subhajit Basu in the world. There are quite a few of them. So ChatGPT thinks this guy is a lawyer, a doctor, or an astronaut, or whatever else it is. So it processes information based on a binary concept. It cannot differentiate between that, hold on, there can be 100 different Subhajit Basus in the world doing 100 different things. So this is something I just wanted to add. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. Absolutely correct.
You know, it's beautifully said, artificial intelligence is not counterproductive. But artificial intelligence is dangerous when it is coupled with natural stupidity. Remember? So you should not give upper hand to artificial intelligence. That's what is said.
Sir, the constitutional doctrine of basic structure propounded in Keshavanand Bharati's case in 1973 has become 52-year-old as of 2025. In remembrance of that case, can you, sir, please comment on how the Constitution has upheld legal ethics, judicial ethics, and medical ethics in the past decade?
I treat it as a first year LLB classroom to explain to you the basic structure doctrine, which is 52 years strong. Article 368 speaks about amendment of the Constitution. The question is the right of the Parliament to amend the Constitution limited or unlimited? I'm oversimplifying the whole thing to make it okay. The Supreme Court said in Keshavanand Bharati, I'm not going to the earlier cases, the right of the Parliament to amend the Constitution is not unlimited. In one sentence, it's a 1300-page judgment. I'm sure no one has read all the 1300 pages. Everyone must be pretending that he has read. And when Professor of Canada came to Visakhapatnam, he was asked to participate in a seminar on Keshavanand Bharati. He said, the judgment only proves one thing, that paper is not a scarce commodity in India. What was said in 1300 pages can be said in 13 pages, he said. Be that as it may, the Supreme Court said the right of the Parliament to amend the Constitution is not unlimited. The limit begins where the basic structure starts. Third sentence. What is basic structure? Don't ask us. We refuse to answer. We will give you only illustrations. You amend the Constitution. If it is challenged, we'll examine whether it is intra-virus or ultra-virus. But one thing very interesting, in the last 52 years, after Keshavanand judgment, basic structure doctrine was given, hardly 2 to 3 cases, amendments were struck down. Almost all the constitutional amendments were upheld by the Supreme Court, if you go through it. Therefore, you need not make basic structure a monster. Okay. The basic structure doctrine was given to ensure that amendment means, students please remember, I'm quoting Nani Palkiwala, amending the Constitution means mending the Constitution and not ending the Constitution. Look at the spelling, amending. Remove A, it is mending. Remove yam, it is ending. So it's not ending the Constitution, but it is mending the Constitution. And we have amended it for 106 times to date, if I'm not wrong. And the same basic structure theory has been adopted by a number of countries across our frontiers in the world. And therefore, we should be proud of the fact that and the Supreme Court's not basic structure theory, but liberal interpretation of Article 21, wherein Article 21 had been liberated from the narrow confines of Eko Gopalan in Maneka Gandhi's case. And the concept of fair, just and reasonable principle was evolved. The Supreme Court said it should not be capricious, arbitrary, whimsical, or fanciful. and it must be fair, just, and reasonable. And in that perspective, in that protective umbrella, right to health also has to
Absolutely.
enhance the quality of life. But here you must understand the Constitution of India, now the interpretations of the Supreme Court do not speak about right to private health. They speak only about right to public health. Now, if I suffer from a disease, I cannot sue the court of law. It's only about public health. Apart from Article 47 and etc., 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 so many things. People must have repeated it number of times yesterday. Therefore, the expanding the horizons of the concept of liberty have brought even the concept of right to health within the definition of right to life and liberty. And that's an excellent sign. And therefore, today you have a school of thought which says basic structure theory is the real Sanatana Dharma of India, not the other Sanatana Dharmas, please remember. In fact, Pratap Bhanu Mehta had written an article in the India Express saying that the real Sanatana Dharma of India is basic structure theory because it speaks about certain permanent, immutable, inviolable principles, which you may call natural law. And that's how it has helped the expanding regime of God. Okay,
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. So my next question to Vivek Madi, sir. At the World Conference Summit in 2024, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang shared his perspective on the future of coding. He said that if we were given a chance, we would study biology and life science because it's a field with the greatest area of discovery and opportunity. Please comment on this, sir, and how can AI contribute to healthcare without much hassle?
Yes, because life expectancy itself is increasing day by day. But at the same time, there's a lot of pollution that is affecting our lives. We all are frightened about our health. Health is a primary factor in every life. So, but we are using so many gadgets today that's helping us find out what's going wrong with our body. The IoTs, all are there. But remember one thing, in the end of the day, we need to see certain parameters the AI has to function in. As lawyers, now I'm addressing legal fraternity, it's our duty to make a framework that will make this technology to be inculcated well. Well, we all know doctors have empathy. They have to have empathy for a successful treatment. Counseling is a very important job of a doctor. Communication is very important. But can an AI do this effectively as much as a doctor can do? So that's a question that we are still not resolved into. So at the same time, another thing we as lawyers need to ensure is the privacy and confidentiality of the information that we are giving to a machine. How much it is going to be upheld. We all know it's a duty of a doctor, always a privileged communication is there. At times a doctor can divulge this information for the welfare of the society. Like in case somebody is suffering from HIV or very communicable disease like a COVID, yes, you can divulge that information in the interest of the public that somebody is suffering, and therefore that is called a privileged communication. But is all these can be applied to a machine? Can a machine, an AI, can differentiate between what is privileged communication and what is a normal confidentiality and privacy? So these are things which are yet to be governed and regulated. Also, right now, the need of the hour is to make a legal framework which is acceptable for the entire community. So that's the primary work we all are having. And not only that, this legal framework should also have an ethical obligation. because it has to be human-centered framework that is sustainable. So this is what we all need, and that's the request from the society to the legal fraternity to make an effective framework which will help sustain humanity as such.
That's a very interesting point raised by him. Research never solves a problem. While solving a problem, it raises 9 questions. That's the purpose of research. Artificial intelligence also has raised 9 questions which need to be answered. And he was speaking about ethics. Yes. Research fails where feeling for life fails. Please remember. Research fails where feeling for life fails. That's what he says. Can a machine have feeling? And we are making honest attempts to come out with an effective legal regime with the ethical foundation. And this is in transition. So we are in that mood, like Arjuna in the battlefield, unable to find any solution. Okay. And Krishna was required to deliver a discourse. Okay. And we are in that stage. But please remember, he was speaking about empathy. I was reminded of a beautiful definition of innovation by Satya Nadella, because Satya Nadella is your favorite. Okay. He said, life, L-I-F-E, means learn innovation forever. Because we live in an age of innovation and not renovation. And then he said, by innovation, I mean empathy turned into action. That's the most important thing. Empathy turned into action. Doctors' empathy, I have seen firsthand. My father was a doctor, remember. They don't sleep. Okay. And that empathy, that heart throb, the churning of the middle stick in the heart, that is what is required. Okay. Empathy turned into action. These 2 points came to my mind when we were discussing about research, life, and empathy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So my question to Shubhajit, sir. Sir, you've authored a book on e-commerce taxation in 2008. Can you, sir, please comment on how the global perspectives have shifted from back then? Further, can you please comment on the Indian consumer e-commerce rules 2020 in this regard?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me this, because I was telling Sri Sudha ma'am that it now feels a completely different life. So my PhD is on taxation of e-commerce when I did it between 2000 and 2003. And my first monograph book is on taxation of e-commerce. But I looked at taxation not because I'm not a tax lawyer, I'm a technology lawyer or a technology academic. I looked at it from a technology point of view. I didn't look at it from a tax point of view. So when I started doing research on e-commerce, back then Yahoo just came into being. E-commerce was very, very new, very nascent. So a lot of people had no understanding how e-commerce is going to impact taxation. That the impact on taxation happens because when product crosses broad, taxation makes a nation state. So if you look at the history of state, you will see the modern state survived because it found the most efficient method of taxing people. And so it's a sovereign right of a state to impose tax. What e-commerce did, because e-commerce ensured cross-border trade, which raised the question, which country will have the right to taxation? You can tax either based on origin principle, you can tax based on residence principle. And if you look around the world, international taxation, there is one global agreement, it's called Washington Declaration. And that Washington Declaration ensured that tax base needs to be shared. What is fundamentally wrong with that agreement is that was an agreement of the world's most powerful nations. So it protected the interest of the country where products are manufactured, not the countries where the product is sold. So that was the most basic thinking behind my work. I looked at, I'm not going to take claim to fame, but if you do look at my thesis from 2003, you will see in one chapter, so I used India as a case study. And in 2003, my work required a little bit of interviewing. It wasn't an empirical work. And there was only one person who replied to my email from England. And he's no longer there anymore. He's Dr. Arun Jaitley. He was the IB minister at that time in the center, and replied to my email, which was quite surprising for me, and gave me some advice. So from one of those advice, I proposed what you now have in India, GST. Because in India, there was no GST. Indian GST is very similar to VAT in Europe. It's a consumption tax. Now, why I did the research? The research I did because consumption tax is a regressive tax. What does it mean, regressive tax? Income tax is a progressive tax. More you earn, more tax you pay. Consumption tax is a regressive tax because it is not dependent on your income. So if you earn 100 pounds, you pay same tax as someone who is earning 1,000 pounds. Okay, so 100 rupees or 1,000 rupees. So the impact, if that two person with different income wants to buy the same product, the effect of the person who earns less will be more than the effect, taxation's effect on the person who earns more. So this is why it's regressive. My whole argument was e-commerce, if it is not taxed properly, will benefit the rich at the expense of the poor. Because when I did the thesis back in 2000 to 2003, access to technology was limited to rich people. Computers were expensive. Internet was expensive. It's a world before smartphone, right? So that is one side of it. Now, the other side of the discussion is when I started looking into regulation of internet, for 20 years we argued that regulation of internet is difficult. So is regulation of e-commerce. Why? Because internet does not obey borders. E-commerce does not obey borders. You can have cross-border trade. And that is the principle in European Union. In European Union, cross-border trade is encouraged because it's an open single market. Then we spent 20 years arguing that internet does not obey borders. So the sovereign right of a nation state to make the law does not stand. So if you want to look at the whole regulatory thinking of my PhD thesis, you have to read a work written by a guy called John Perry Barlow. He's a cyber libertarian. And he wrote an article back in 1998. He said that the nation states of the world should stay away from internet because they do not have any jurisdiction on it. Now, at that point, if you hold on to that argument, the problem is then how will you tax? If the nation state stays away from the internet, from regulating it, how will you tax? So the counter argument was put forward by a group called cyber paternalists. Now, if you look at the map of United States, you will see in the United States, on the west side, you have is the Silicon Valley, where softwares are developed, hardwares are developed. And on the right side of the map, you have the big law schools, Harvard, Yale, Columbia, big ones. So for a long time, it was a fight between law in one side, the law schools, and the code makers in the other side. Okay, this was a fight. And what the sir was saying, you cannot let technology to govern our life. techno-based solution is never the perfect solution. But that is what I did in my PhD thesis. I said, technology, because technology has created the problem, technology will give you the solution to it. And my concept was based on, and I think you should read this book. Name of the book is Code, C-O-D-E. And you can read Code and then you can read Code 2.0. It's written by a constitutional law professor, Professor Lawrence Lessig. And he argued that we in society, we are regulated or governed by 4 principles. 4 things regulate us, not just law, apart from our wife and our parents. That he didn't include. Guys, that was joke. Don't look so serious. It scares me. So what Lawrence Lessig said, there are 4 things. There are 4 things that regulate us. One is law. Rule of law regulates us. Second, norms. Norms of the society. Custom. That regulates us. Third is technology. That regulates us. And the 4th thing, so I was mentioning, market. Now, if I give you a very simple example, so we can create law. So I said, law doesn't make a person ethical, moral, anything. Why we follow law? Because we are fearful of its impact if we didn't. So it's a system of control. And we realize it. When I was a PhD student, I realized it very nicely because, like you, I used to download, so you are too young to know these things anyway. Sir said I'm quite young, but you guys are much more younger. So there is a thing called peer-to-peer file sharing. You know it in a lot different way now. When you download files from the internet, that is actually peer-to-peer file sharing, but that is completely different. So in our days, peer-to-peer file sharing allowed us to download music. So if you have got Bollywood song or Southern cinema songs in your computer, there is to be a software which you can download. It's called Grokster, and that software would let me download the music that is there in your computer. So where is the problem? The lawyer in me always knew I am infringing copyright. Was I afraid of it? No. Why? Because law is not enforceable. Nobody will come and try to catch me. I'm just one person. I mean, in my PhD room, there were 4 of us who were doing it. Until one fine morning, Liverpool University sent us an email saying, you know what you are doing is wrong. We know what you are doing is wrong. So unless you stop it, we will stop your access to the computer. So what law didn't prevent us, that threat prevented us from doing. Okay. So I told you first thing is law. The second is market. Market controls us. And one of the classic example of market control is your consumer behavior. You buy things which are affordable. You buy things which attracts to you. So your desire is controlled by the market. Okay? And one of the classical example of market is a company I was mentioning, Nadella, is Microsoft. Microsoft drove competitors out of market by giving 3 things for free. And you know it because Jio did the same thing by providing internet for free when they first entered the market. So market controls us. The third thing that controls us are social norms. In Europe, it is a social taboo to do drink driving. It's a taboo. There is law which prevents that. But there is also social taboo. That if someone is drinking and you know that person is going to drive, you stop that person. So there are social taboo that in the Western world, hand is not used to eat. You use cutlery. In our world, we use hand. So customs, okay? And the final thing is the code, technology. Technology controls us, regulates us. To give you an example, you cannot run away, although whatever I'm talking is completely rubbish. You think it is rubbish and boring. you cannot run away from this room because the walls are preventing you. The door is closed, right? So this is technology preventing you from acting. Okay. So those were the principles that governed my tax thing. I wish my ma'am didn't ask me because I'm not a tax lawyer.
Now that prompts me to share three important things with you. You were making a mention about Microsoft and how they are taking you for a ride. As far as consumers are concerned, there's a very important right called right to reuse. How many of you have heard about it? These Microsoft fellows are so smart that every 2 years they develop a product and they compel you to purchase it. And the old one, you have to throw it into the Bay of Bengal. How many millions of dollars it takes? Where do you have the right to reuse? Think about it, okay? The second one he was speaking about, I was reminded of a book. Alvin Toffler, some of you must have heard his name. About 20 years ago, he has written a book called War and Anti-War. War and Anti-War. And in that book, he made a prediction which is coming through in 2023-5. In future, wars will be fought not in battlefields, but in marketplaces. One sentence he says, in future, wars will be fought not in battlefields, in marketplaces. Already you are seeing the geopolitical realities, tariff reduction, and e-commerce, etc., etc. The next point I wanted to make you is, all of us have a very peculiar habit of using the word business in a pejorative sense. You say legal profession is not a business. You teach the class. It's not a trade. Now, has time come for us to treat business as a service and lend respectability to business and commerce also? Because the whole world is governed by business and commerce. And you say he is commercial in outlook. Immediately, the moment you say, when somebody has no character, he is commercial, he is business-like. Is business such a derogatory word? Youngster, please have a relook at it and think about it as to whether business is really one. Now, these are the 3 points I wanted to share with you as a response to a wonderful presentation by Dr. Dawson. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So my question to Rao sir again. So we have the legal maxim, fiat justitia ruit cilium. And as we know that administration of justice is tedious, yet an important task. So with AI integrating into the legal field, how will artificial intelligence impact on administration of justice? Yes, sir.
This is a very interesting question. When I was the Vice Chancellor of National Law School of India, University, Bangalore, 2 brilliant youngsters in their 4th year, they came to me and said, "Sir, why do you appoint all elderly people as judges? Time consuming, etc., etc. Why can't we hand it over to a computer? Our younger generation, which is more tech savvy, can do it." I smiled at it. I was not replying. "What is, sir, you are smiling?" I said, "My smile must contain the answer." Then I told them, it is very easy to say what is injustice, but it's very difficult to say what is justice. For administering justice, you must move from text to context. That is where a human mind plays an important part. Artificial intelligence can only supplement but can never substitute human beings. I'll just give you the example, which most of you must have read, Amartya Sen's Idea of Justice book. For the benefit of those who have not heard of it, I'll tell you. Amartya Sen simply gives an example of a bamboo flute. There will be a bamboo flute. 3 youngsters come and they say, you give the flute to me. The first one's name is Anne. She says, I was born in the poorest of the poor families. I never had any access even to a toy. I had never access to any of the decent things in life. Please give me the flute because birth is an accident. I use it as a toy. Immediately the entire class says, yes, he should be given the flute. Then she makes the exit. Second one, Bob. He says, I have gone into the forest. I researched it for 6 months to find out the quality bamboo. After 6 months, I found out the quality bamboo. And after felling the tree, I took the wood and then made a flute out of it after 6 months labor, 1 year total. 6 months for finding the wood, 6 months for finding. So the bamboo flute is a product of my hard work, my industry. You must give the flute to me. Immediately the entire class says you have to give the flute to second one. We will give some other toy to first one. The third one, Carla, comes and says, I have sympathy for both, but neither of them knows how to play flute. I am the most favorite disciple of Ilaiyaraaja or Hariprasad Chaurasia. And if you give flute to me, I will be the cultural ambassador of the country. If these fellows are given the flute, they will destroy it in 2 months. Then the entire class says you give the flute to third one. We'll give some other thing to number 2 and 1. So now answer, what is justice? Who should get the flute? We'll feed the data, the entire data to a machine. Human heart. A judge is one who has passion for what he does and compassion for whom he does. Please remember that. A judge is one who has passion for what he does and compassion for whom he does. And unless that human touch is there, there cannot be administration of justice. So artificial intelligence will enable you to expedite, remember, to enhance the quality, but it can never substitute a human being, because a human body in flesh, blood is absolutely required to understand one thing. What is that? As you grow in life, you will understand human beings care more for longings than belongings. Please remember that. And that longing is dealt with by judges. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you. So my next question is to Vivek, sir. There is a growing attention and evidence that healthcare AI is vulnerable to racial bias. Addressing racism as an ethical issue will facilitate the development of trustworthy and responsible healthcare AI. So how should these biases be addressed?
Yeah, this bias can be addressed by legal fraternity also, because you have to make a framework rules that can address these biases. Yes, bias can be because you know how research is being done. So regulation is very important, and not only regulation, it also have ethics in it, the ethical values. So you need to have a legal framework, ethical framework, and a regulatory framework. All that, adding both confidentiality, privacy in it. You need to make rules, regulations, which will fit in, so that tomorrow we will be having an AI which will come to something nearer to human mind. Yes, it has all the learned speakers have also mentioned, yes, it cannot replace human beings. It is only to augment our intelligence and not to replace. We have a conscious, we have ethics inside. Humans have something much more what we call humane value. There's something humane to everything what we do. Uh, AI can't be human at all. It is only something that can help making decisions in life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving me the opportunity. Now, yesterday I was talking about society suffering from biasness. We suffer from prejudices. We are creating artificial intelligence. How do you expect we who suffer from biasness, we who suffer from prejudices, will create something which will not suffer from biasness and prejudices? What we have inside us gets transferred to the technology. And a classical example of this was seen a few years ago in New York State. New York State Police Department at that 5-6 years ago was using something called predictive policing. In predictive policing, you basically predict what are the chances of a particular person or group of person committing a particular crime. What are the chances based on certain attributes? Now, after a couple of years of using this software, one of the human rights organization got hold of some of the data. They found that the predictive policing software which NYPD was using, they were targeting more black people than the white people. And that raised suspicion. Why? Because if you look at the demography of New York, there are more white people than black people. So if we go by the statistics, the percentage of people committing a crime in New York should be more with white, less with black. But it didn't happen. So an investigation started, and the investigation found that when the AI was trained, the algorithm was written, that algorithm was fed with information, with data. The training data actually had that inbuilt biasness. It had the biasness of targeting black people more than the white people. So when the predictive policing happened, that same square in the training data gave the outcome, and the outcome was black people were more targeted than the white people. And this is one of the reasons why, if you look at European Union's AI Act, there is only one legislation in the world at the moment which deals with artificial intelligence, regulation of artificial intelligence, that is EU's AI Act. There are 3 categories of AI where, based on risk analysis, 3 categories of AI. The first category is where you cannot use AI. And one of the first thing is using artificial intelligence in facial recognition technology. Why? Because I was giving this lecture, when I was giving this lecture yesterday, I said, the data that got trained to create some of the artificial intelligence based systems, they are trained based on people in Anglo-Saxon population, white people, okay? And the facial recognition technology that exists now at the moment, they cannot differentiate clearly between people of color, okay? They are not very good at it. So if you use artificial intelligence technology for the CCTV cameras which you have in your campus, they do not use artificial intelligence. They do not do face recognition. But there are cameras which have the capability. China uses it indiscriminately. There are airports around the world, I'm not going to name them, where artificial intelligence driven camera with facial recognition technology are used. European Union said, no, you cannot do that. The other thing is, you cannot use artificial intelligence in social scoring. So China has a system where you as a human being is given a score. Okay, you have a point that, okay, you are a good person, believes in communist ideology, you will never cause problem for the Communist Party, so you get out of 100, you get 90. European Union said no. Why? Because there will be biasness. From biasness, you have got discrimination. And what ma'am was saying, it will lead to racial discrimination. And this is a very, very, very big thing in society at the moment. Remember one thing, we haven't managed to find a solution to stop racial discrimination without technology. Just think the discrimination that can happen with technology that we create.
Thank you, sir. So the question is again to Shubhajit, sir. Sir, you are a big proponent of free speech. You enjoy exploring and discussing subjects that are not discussed. So what is your take on Kunal Kamra case with respect to India's Information Technology Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code Amendment Rules 2023 about the fact-checking unit, contrastingly Ranveer Alavadia case, where he said something that was termed culturally offensive and rash use of freedom on social media that is assumed to have affected families and parental relationships?
I know this is controversial. So I recently wrote a paper on right to dissent and how it is framed within Indian Constitution. Sir was mentioning about Indian Constitution. When I teach in UK, I refer to Indian Constitution because apart from being one of the lengthiest constitution in the world, it is one of the most complex constitution in the world. And freedom of speech and expression is one such right, which is there in our constitution and through the period since the formation of constitution up to now. Different Supreme Courts at different period of time has differently interpreted it. Now I tell you three things. First, freedom of expression, speech and expression is an important component in democracy. The right to dissent creates democracy. If everybody agrees with the government in power, then you do not have democracy. So you have that right. But that right is not an unfettered right. Okay, you cannot go on and say anything and everything and think that is acceptable. So in recent cases, I will say two things. One, what was mentioned is something I do not agree with. Okay, that goes against my principles. How it was said, I do not agree with. But what I agree with is his right to say it. Now, there is a very famous quote, always gets attributed to Voltaire, and he says, I may not agree with what you say, but I agree, but I respect your right to say it. And that is your freedom of speech and expression. You also have to remember the you need freedom of speech and expression when you say something which kind of pushes the boat out, which is controversial. If you say sun rises in the east, that is not controversial. You do not need protection. You do not need constitutional guarantee for that. You need constitutional guarantee when you say something which goes against the majoritarian view. And when I say majoritarian view, I'm not talking about religion, caste, creed, or anything. It's a view which is majoritarian. And I've always argued, as long as you have not said something which is illegal, which is hateful, which is insightful, you have a right to say it. And that is the essence of democracy. If you look at freedom of speech and expression from an international point of view, United States, because of its First Amendment, gives more importance to freedom of speech and expression. If you look at freedom of speech and expression from an European jurisprudential point of view, you will see consequent European Court of Human Rights have said freedom of expression is acceptable with exclusion and limitations. Okay? But it also went on to say that something which is grossly offensive is what that is protected by the speech, by the human rights law. Similar concept is also applied. So my short answer is, yes, I do not agree what was said and the way it was said, but in the circumstances where it was said, where it was quite obvious this is satirical, there is a liberty there, liberty of the comedian there. She should be allowed to say. I do not see a point of having an FIR filed against him. It is not something which would happen in UK or Europe, and in the Trumpian world, it will never happen in United States, because he makes sensational news sellable. Thank you.
I'm reminded of a famous quote. Freedom of speech is important, but freedom after speech is more important. Now, just give a careful thought to it. Okay, freedom after speech. And freedom should never degenerate into licentiousness. Please remember that. That's what he was trying to tell me. Okay. Now, therefore, there cannot be unqualified, unrestricted, and untrammeled freedom.
So my next question to Rao sir again. Sir, can you please explain how students should study law in an era of AI-driven study and research and the consequent ethical backlash? Students here can relate to it, and if we can find a balance, it will help the legal and medical sectors. Yes, sir, if you want, it would be the last one.
How should you study law? Right. My advice to you would be, first, many students have asked me this question. Sir, how do you remember all these things? How have you been studying law the last 45 years? What has been your approach? Tell me. I said, I'm also an ordinary mortal like you. The first thing that you must understand is, while studying law, don't miss life. Robin Sharma in The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari says, if you have read that book, Julian, the central character, while arguing in a court of law, collapses. And he says, why did God make me live? Maybe because I studied law, but I missed my life. I have to understand life. And he starts a journey to Savannah, has experience, comes back, experiences. But how do you study life? Very simple. If you look at the top of a mountain, you will never reach the top. Agree? You are more bothered about the pebbles in your shoes. Take the first step. Don't look at the top. The altitude to be covered remains n minus 1. Agree? Take the second step. The altitude to be covered remains n minus 2. Take the third step, n minus 3. One fine morning, like Bachendri Pal, you are on the top of Mount Everest. Agree with me? Think that your participation in the seminar is the first step. Okay? Take the second step. In incremental manner, you must study law. Okay, number one. And number two, please always understand what is well said. In Glanville Williams, in Learning the Law, he quotes this. A lawyer without the knowledge of literature, history, philosophy is like a mason. A lawyer with the knowledge of history, literature, philosophy is like an architect. You have to decide whether you will become a mason or an architect, because your attitude will determine your altitude. like to read a Bazaar guide, you will be at the Bazaar level only. If you would like to read the original text, there is no substitute for mother's milk. Okay, you will understand it at a different level. And therefore, studiously study in an incremental manner, and time management is very important while studying law. I'm reminded of an episode in my life which I read over BBC. I would like to share with you, because everyone has the same 24 hours. How do you manage? Now, it was a physics professor who was delivering a lecture on time management. And first half an hour, he delivered a lecture on magnetism. And then the remaining 20 minutes, he said, I will explain to you time management. He said, I have taught you something. Now I will be giving you free of cost something. You do whatever you like with that. And you sell that output in the exhibition which you will be having. Okay. And keep the money for yourself. He divided the class into 3 batches. The first batch he went, and what he gave was 1 kg of iron and steel, free of cost. The first batch, he said, they said, sir, you have taught us magnetism. We would like to make magnets and sell these magnets to all school-going children for £1 each. About 1,000 magnets will come. We'll make 1,000 pounds. He said, congratulations. I should congratulate you. The second batch he went. They said, no, sir, we are not going to make magnets. We are going to make safety pins. What will be the weight of safety pin? You can make millions of safety pins. And we will sell them for 10,000 pounds. So you deserve congratulations 10 more times. He went to last batch. There was a smart girl. She removed the wristwatch. He didn't understand why removing the wristwatch. She opened the wristwatch. And she removed the spring from the wristwatch. In those days, you know, whenever there was a problem with a watch, whenever we used to go to watch hospital, immediately they would say, the spring needs to be changed. The Muslim mechanic would say, spring needs to. What will be the cost of weight of each spring? 0.00001 milligram. He puts it in a glass container. Okay? And for each spring, he used to collect 10 rupees. How many springs can you make? 1 billion springs you can make. And therefore, they said, we'll make 1 billion. No. That means he is a Bill Gates in the making. And then he said, you substitute this 1 kg of iron steel with 24 hours in a day. God has given you the same 24 hours. One is satisfied by making magnets. The second one is not satisfied till he makes the safety pins. The third one is a genius. So you have to use the time judiciously, remember. In small doses, read for half an hour, read for 45 minutes. Have general reading, understand life, and then study subjects in law. This is how you have to study law. Only one principle for all these things is study law with pleasure and not under pressure. Okay, learn law with pleasure and not under pressure. As long as you like a thing which you do, you don't feel you are working. Agree? Yes. For example, when the Dean Madam asks you to perform in the Freshers' Day function or in the College Day function, you would do rehearsals for 24 hours, 48 hours, don't sleep, but come early in the morning, act fresh as in the month of May. But if the same Dean Madam asks you to write an assignment, you will say, this old lady has nothing else to do. Same thing. See, now, that's the attitude, nothing more than that. So, this is the mindset. Okay, enjoy it. My professor used to say, you must join a job where you don't require a vacation. That means every day is a vacation. I have been enjoying my teaching since the last 1 year.
Yes, absolutely, sir.
That should be your approach to study of law. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. My last question to Vivek, sir. Integrating AI in virtual health and mental health supports has shown promise in improving patient care. However, it is important to address limitations such as bias and lack of personalization. To ensure the equitable and effective use of AI, how should we improve the healthcare scenario from an ethical legal perspective?
Yes, we had to use AI using all these frameworks which I've told you, the legal, ethical, and regulatory frameworks, s- and so that we can today mental issue is a big thing today. We not only we need to look after the welfare of of the patients, it is welfare of us doctors and legal fraternity is also very important. So an AI based solution would be should be equitable to everybody, useful so that there is no bias in it. And obviously, bias could come in many ways. Bias could be when you make a technology based like a drug, you're taking studies using the could be per section, like I should mention the blacks or whites or Asian population. But does AI fit it into global picture? You must see that. Is it globally effective? So the data that is fed into is most important. So implementation and validation are very, very important part of an AI technology. So we should ensure this validation process is done very effectively and there's no biases, and data that is put in is actually encompasses the entire population, not just one particular section. So that is what we as regulatory people should ensure, that data, see, AI is basically data feeding. So the data that is fed in is appropriate and correct. And that is the duty of the legal fraternity to ensure this is implemented. Implementation of an AI is very, very important today. There's no biases in it, and the data that is fed in should bring out the output, which is good for the society.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. One last question to Shubhajit, sir. Sir, we believe you are working on a research project, Autonomy and Moral Agency in Bioethics. So can you briefly explain what it entails to our audience?
So this is a project which is funded by NUJS Calcutta. So we're looking at a world post-COVID. Now, COVID basically showed us the value of data, and aggregation of data and analysis of data in identifying the next global pandemic or predominance of a particular disease. What we realized during COVID, that data was collected indiscriminately, and they were not always used for the benefit of the mankind. They were used for the profitability of the pharmaceutical companies, for vaccine making companies, and and China used it for general surveillance. So in this particular research, we are looking at collection of data for biomedical research in an ethical manner. How can it be done? Now, if you look at India's legal framework around bioethics, it is not very clear what is permissible and what is not permissible. When we started the research, the Indian data protection law has just came in, and the rule has just come out in January, which is going through a phase of consultation. So our purpose is to understand how the concept of data protection, how the concept of privacy can be implemented in biomedical researches, for development for drugs, for development of treatment, for development of preventive measures, so that we are prepared for the next pandemic, and that use of that data in a much more ethical manner. The problem is, more data you collect about us, on us, makes us more vulnerable. If you want to understand about vulnerability, you have to read a work by Helen Nessenbaum. Helen Nessenbaum, she argues all of us are vulnerable because we are so much under prescription of different things, that each one of us are vulnerable to certain things. And through this research, we want to mitigate some of the risk of that vulnerability. State imposes obligations on us. Private companies imposes obligations on us. your university imposes obligations on us, on you. What we are trying to do in a biomedical area post-COVID, that data is not used in an exploitative manner. Well, that is what we want to do. How much we will be able to do, that is, we don't know. The reason being the funding is not very big, so we are planning to start empirical research. We'll be talking to doctors, we'll be talking to healthcare providers in rural India. But our idea is if we can do this as a pilot study, then we can approach bigger funding bodies in India or in Europe to do a much large scale research on this. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very welcoming proposal, Professor Subhajit. So we are ready to take up such kind of initiatives. With regard to this data protection also, for financial data, we have a data localization policy. So like that, on pilot basis, we intend to take up this research. Here we have a seed funding policy. University is ready to support us with regard to logistics and other required supporting facility, and we have a strong statistics department also. So once we prepare the schedule and all, the validation, fixation of scales and all we can do. It's a very welcoming proposal. So from law school side, maybe we can start doing research with regard to the privacy policy pertaining to health data. And moreover, Chennai is a place for health tourism, I can say that. So it is very, very famous for health technology and health related areas. And SRM is also having its own biomedical research department, wherein they are conducting clinical trials and other related biomedical research. So surely from law department side, if we can prepare a proper policy, we can protect the data, especially the sensitive data of the patients, or else we can share if the data is very, very essential for the purpose of invention of certain important diseases, like whether it may be a cancer or any other diseases. Thank you.
Thank you, all the panelists. It was indeed an extremely enthusiastic session. If any students want to take up any questions, the floor is open. If anyone wants. Any of the students are interested? Faculty members?
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. As the whole part of the discussions revolve around AI and how it cannot be replaced by human being as such. But we see the other way around also, sir. Like with the train technology, the meta and other softwares, where the augmented reality of individual human being trained at some place, and a choice-based decision of the augmented reality, how individual will react into a real life, how he's going to take, what will be his choice. So what do you see in future if human cannot be replaced by AI, whether human can be made like AI, like think like AI, the thinking critical capacity to be gone with such training, such feeding of the data, even false feeding of the data, which people can believe. We have seen in several instances the way you are watching the videos, and if you go to read any particular article or any data based on that reel, the entries on internet can be changed for one individual person. So how do you see the human race, as in, if the human race can be converted into a AI thinking mechanism?
Don't become robotized in the process. That's the only sentence I can tell you, okay? See, God has given you the wherewithal, the discerning ability to choose, okay? And therefore, if you become robotized, you are no different from IoT, isn't it? Therefore, use that discussion, okay, and thus far and no further. And you should not be dominated by technology, but you should dominate technology. Because remember, it is the product of human beings, okay? It's not the other way around, okay?
Just to add what Sir has said, it's your choice to use the technology. You make the decision to use it. How you will use it is up to you. Okay, if you look at even the world's most destructive power, nuclear technology, it creates bomb, it creates MRI scan. So a technology is neutral. How you use the technology creates whether it is used for good or is used for bad. So choice is ours to make. If you see a message sent to you on WhatsApp University and believe whatever is written is true and forward it to your 100 friends, it's a decision you are making. You are not stopping to think, hold on, is this message correct? You are not thinking it. So at the end of the day, the responsibility lies on you. You are giving the algorithm the impetus to manipulate you. You are looking at things which reinforces your belief. If I look at constantly Bipasha Basu, my wife will throw me out of the house. That is a different story. But I will get feed on Bipasha Basu. Okay, I will not get to see someone else. I don't know all the Bollywood stars nowadays. That's the truth. So if technology reinforces your belief, so if you use the technology in a manner which helps you to be manipulated, then the fault is yours. You have the power how to use it at the end of the day. So,
See, why even a Bhojpuri knife can be used as a surgeon's scalpel or to kill a person. Why you go to okay?
Yeah, that's Azari. It's up to us to make the decision final. It's human, and for us, it's important. Ethics is and morality is. That's why this whole seminar is. People need to develop ethics and morality. Only then the product that is going to come out is going to be good.
Sir, further, just one.
what I explained yesterday about the presentations, those 8 presenters made an informed choice to use ChatGPT to replace their own research. Sarah was talking about there is no shortcut to hard work. Okay, you have to learn the law. You have to learn how to interpret the law. ChatGPT won't do it for you. So they made the choice. They took the shortcut to do the presentation completely using ChatGPT. They could have used ChatGPT maybe to create a PowerPoint. I can understand using it as a tool. But why did you use it for the research? There was one presenter who didn't even read any of the laws, but did a comparative analysis of 6 laws. If you haven't read the law, how can you do comparative analysis? So you can't say that technology is at the fault. The use of the technology has to be in the right manner, isn't it? Sorry to say, but thank you.
Certainly, it is our choice, first of all. But human action is more based on dopamine gain, sir. So, how we are addicted to a technology, like particularly, I'm not talking about how we are using AI to completely write an article or an article or something, but I'm talking about engagement with AI with our own self on maybe spending 5, 6 hours watching on reels. So what do you suggest people as a human, a young generation also to, get away from these kind of, what steps we should be taking to, protect our mental health and our intellectuality and individuality as such? That's.
We are the most disconnected persons in the name of connectivity. Okay. And I will not use the word de-addiction. Okay. You are digitally addicted. There is no doubt about that. Okay. In the class, in the hall, How many of them have pointing out their fingers at the smartphone, see, when the lecture is on? But I look at it in a positive way. How? Thomas Friedman in the book, Thank You for Being Late, he says, elder generation had all the time to point fingers at others, and they were fighting with each other. We must be grateful to the younger generation. They don't have time to point out fingers at others because they always point at smartphones. So the smartphones are contributing to social solidarity. So you take science as a blessing and not as a curse. Okay. Use it judiciously. Okay. Now see, actually, in my time, gossip was a very interesting subject. We used to gossip. Forgetting the basic truth that gossip would be interesting as long as you are not the subject matter. So, but now you people don't have time to gossip at all because you're always in touch with smart gadget, isn't it? Therefore, be judicious. Okay? And okay, thank you. Okay.
You know, when I was growing up, my school days, I used to play football. My nephew plays football online. That's the difference. You know, you have made that choice that you won't go out and play and get hit by anything. My sister-in-law, she was very worried because my nephew started playing rugby. In UK, they play rugby. Why was she worried? She was worried, oh, he's going to break a bone. That's normal, isn't it, when you play? But nowadays, that is what is happening. You spend more time using these gadgets, less time on human interaction, what I was telling. And there are so many cartoons nowadays, a full family of people sitting, nobody's looking at each other or having a conversation, they're looking at the smartphone. That is where the problem is. You know, we are losing our human touch, our human abilities. But the choice has always been with us to decide how we use the technology or how we implement the technology into our daily life. You can make technology useful for yourself, make your life efficient, but don't become slave of that technology. Okay, don't be completely dependent on that technology. In UK, we have what is called lecture capture. So whenever we are giving a lecture, the lecture gets recorded. So every lecture theater would have 5-6 cameras, there are microphones and everything. That gets recorded completely. All lectures gets recorded. Now, a student then has to make a decision whether I will wake up, after a night out or something and come to the class and listen to my professor, or should I be just reliant on the lecture capture? Because technically, there is no need for that person to be in the room, because you can listen to the lecture as per your desire and as per your convenience. Now your question is, why did university provide a facility like that where it is actually discouraging student from attending lectures, live lectures? Well, the university is not discouraging students from attending live lectures, but it is actually providing facility to those students who perhaps for one reason couldn't attend that lecture. In UK, when I give my postgraduate lectures, it's a 2-hour long lecture. We give a 10 minutes, 5 minutes to 10 minutes break in between. And some of the times I am discussing what perhaps I have done research for over 2 years. So that my lecture on freedom of speech and expression, I've been doing research for 20 years. In 2 years, I tell them the issues. We don't go by law, we go issues by issues, dealing with one jurisdiction to another. It is not always possible for a student to capture that level of information. So university has provided that facility so that you can go back and listen to it and then maybe take notes out of it. Then you have students who suffers from, say, dyslexia, okay, or attention deficiency syndromes, okay. Students who come with lot of disabilities. This lecture capture is there for their benefit also. But the decision lies with that student. We do not take attendance in lecture. We only take attendance in seminars, where there is a small group, about 10 to 14. We never take attendance on lecture. It is your choice whether you want to be in that room, but if you are in that room, you get an opportunity to ask question if you want, or if you decide, no, I had a party last night, can't come, had a headache, it's your decision. Decision is with you at the end of the day. University can provide you choice. You have both sides. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, sir. The digital era has revolutionized, offering unprecedented opportunities for innovation and access. However, it also presents complex challenges related to privacy, ethics, and legal framework. Today, our panelist has explored these issues, discussed how we can navigate the evolving landscape in digital era. As we come to the end of this session, I would like to thank our panelists for their invaluable insights, for shedding light on the complexities of AI, data privacy, right to health in the digital era. I would also like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the organizers, participants for making this session a success. Thank you for all your presence and participation. We will move on to the valedictory session after a small break. I request all the As we move on to the valedictory session of the conference titled Right to Health in Digital Era, Navigating Law, Ethics and Policies. Now I would like to invite our Dean Ma'am to deliver the valedictory welcome address.
So, good afternoon, respected dignitaries, my beloved guru, mentor, and guiding force to stand before you, Professor R. Venkatrao, sir. He is the current Vice Chancellor of Goa International Law Universities. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and sharing your words of wisdom. And after that, one more profound, I can say that he is my colleague because 3 years before I have invited him for an online webinar during COVID time. Still, I remember early in the morning, 2 a.m., with the same preparation and a power-packed talk, he has mesmerized each and every audience. From that day onwards, I could not get an opportunity to invite him, but this time we make it a point that Shubhajit should deliver his physical address. So thank you, Professor Shubhajit, for accepting our invitation and gracing this wonderful event. And after this, my special thanks to Professor Vivek Madri. So he's such a multi-dimensional person. So understanding the nuances of law and teaching and making these youngsters to listen to us is a very tough task for us. But Vivek sir, with his practical experience and expertise, he has touched each and every facet of this health, starting from diagnosis to the governance of the data and implementation of various protocols which are integral in health sector. Thank you so much for visiting us. And one more important thing I would like to share it with you. This is my 7th month at SRM School of Law. During my initial interactions with Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor A. Vinay Kumar sir said, so Dr. Sudha, it is our responsibility to focus on health governance. So like Professor R. Venkatrao sir has rightly said, Article 21 guarantees public health, not a personal or an individual's health. But whereas if we compare this kind of legal protection, especially at Western countries, that is very, very important. The state will take care by way of providing a quality health treatment as well as the medical services in the form of the insurance, medical insurance and all. That is what missing. And whenever we see in the medical research as well as medical health service delivery, the private hospitals percentage is on rise. Today, this affordable medicines as well as healthcare is not accessible to people. Though we are talking about the negative aspects and apprehensions with regard to this right to health per se, but there are certain positive aspects also. I intend to share it with you. Yesterday, Shubhajit sir has rightly pointed out the palliative care facilities are more structured at UK and other parts of the world. But in India, sir, I have done some pilot research with regard to palliative care because I have associated with an NGO at Visakhapatnam. So I can say that Kerala is the first state they are providing state-of-art facilities when it comes to palliative care, sir. So they have more than 50 units they have established. Then I have interacted with healthcare professionals who are there at Kerala. What made you to take that initiative? Then what did they say is, in Kerala, out of 100% population, 60% of them, they will migrate to either Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, whatever the country it may be. So the parents are isolated from their children. So that's why in Kerala, with their literacy percentage as well as the strong economic power, they have created this palliative care system. After examining the success of that model, in Visakhapatnam also, we have Age Care Foundation. A 200-bedded hospital was created to provide this critical care services. Dear friends, like that, these seminars are one of the best platforms for the purpose of learning, understanding, as well as providing certain solutions to the societies. So with interaction only, we can understand, we can define the gravity of a particular pressing problem associated with this healthcare so that we can provide solutions. Like Professor Rao sir has rightly said, the purpose of law is not to regulate. It will guarantee certain fundamental rights, and ultimately it is the responsibility of the industry as well as the society how to take care about the fellow human beings who are living in the society. So finally, with so much responsibility, I intend to share few important outcomes of this seminar. So even though the presentations, they have not done a scholarly work, we accept it because we have released the call for papers 3 months before. Again, we will provide them with a quality time. So let them revise the papers so that we are going to publish it in the form of a compilation. I can say that. So, and after that, with regard to important outcomes of this seminar, so we have extensively discussed about whether AI is a friend or foe to this healthcare. I can say that yesterday only one youngster, his age is 16 years. So he has interacted with the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Nara Chandrababu Naidu, with an app. The invention of that boy is very relevant for our discussion. What did he do is, he has invented a stethoscope. If a doctor uses that stethoscope, within 5 minutes, it will diagnose whether an individual is suffering from heart attack or not. Dear friends, it is very, very important for us to discuss about the heart attack. Along with Ishita Chatterjee from Medical College, Sangeeta Madam, she is also instrumental in organizing this seminar. Yesterday, I was searching for Madam, where is Madam and all. Unfortunately, dear friends, day before yesterday night, by 11 p.m., Sangeeta ma'am's husband was passed away because of cardiac arrest. In spite of having one of the best technologies, so if the diagnosis was not done, we are experiencing the cardiac arrest at a very early age. So when I have discussed with the family members of Sangeeta Madam, we were told that he is 47. So most unfortunate thing I can say that both of them are doctors. In spite of that, we cannot avoid the death. But there is a positive aspect also we have to discuss in this seminar. If that youngster's stethoscope is commercialized at large scale, we can diagnose so that prevention is better than cure. That is an important saying whenever we talk about this healthcare. So with that early detection, we can avoid this kind of cardiac arrest kind of thing. So finally, I congratulate the organizing committee for their relentless effort for the purpose of organizing this international seminar. So Rao sir, it is a promise from our side. Every year, we intend to continue this seminar. We intend to connect with more and more scholars who are working in this field, because health is everything. So the Constitution has guaranteed that from law school, it is our responsibility to see to that access to and healthcare should be reached to have-nots or rural masses. So this is the basic objective as well as the outcome of this seminar. So thank you so much.
As a token of love and gratitude, I would invite our Dean Ma'am to felicitate Professor Venkatrao sir. Now, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Venkatrao sir to deliver the valedictory address.
I'll just speak for 3 minutes. Okay? Seminars like this should have only inauguration but no valediction. It should have only a beginning. Okay? But time is our relentless enemy. Therefore, we need to formally have. And when Ishta Madam was asking me a question, how do you want my students to study law? I deliberately kept 2 points up my sleeve to share with you in the valedictory address. 2 interesting points you must always keep in mind is, my professor was always telling me, please remember, the sun rises even on Sundays. There is no Sunday for sun. You agree? So on Sunday morning when you get up from the bed, he said, go to your balcony and see whether the sun is there or not. And the moment you find sun, you continue your work on Sunday also. That's the best secret, because a successful person is one who keeps himself awake when the whole world sleeps. Remember. And an overnight success means 20 years of hard work. He was referring to that. Okay. And my professor also went to another extent and said, you are all interested in holidays. But look at the spelling of holiday. Holy day also has the same spelling. Every holiday is a holy day, you need to work. And when you are working, You should not have arrogance, he said. Because knowledge is that which gives you peace and not arrogance. Knowledge is that which does not enhance your ego, but which enhances your contentment. So, cultivate the habit of humility and wisdom while you are studying. This is very important. And to take the analogy from the medicine and digital technology, and to answer that young man's question, you should not become robotized. T.S. Eliot in his poem says, we are like patients etherized on an operation table. We measure our life with coffee spoons. Does the life have any meaning? And then he says, where is the knowledge we have lost in information? And where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Therefore, information is not education. Please remember that. Formation is education. And I conclude it by quoting Swami Vivekananda, whose best definition of education I keep on repeating wherever I go. Not education is the manifestation of perfection, everyone says. But he said, education is that bridges the distance between a human being and being human. All of us are human beings, but how many of us are being human? With the help of medicine, with the help of e-commerce, with the help of artificial intelligence, let us become more human. God bless you. I congratulate Sri Sudha and her team for this wonderful seminar. Okay, and looking forward to many more interactions. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So now I would be reading the conference proceeding. School of Law, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, in collaboration with Medical College, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, presents International Conference on Right to Health and Digital Era, Navigating Law, Ethics and Policies. The objective of the international conference are exploring ethical challenges, discussing the ethical considerations related to use of digital technology in global health, such as data privacy, informed consent, and equity in access to healthcare. We have scholars from across the on our theme on these 2 days. We have been graced by the presence of brightest minds in our panel discussion, inauguration, and valedictory function. For the inauguration session, we had our chief guest, Justice S. Bhaskaran sir, former chairperson, Tamil Nadu State Human Rights Commission. He has inaugurated the session. Along with a guest of honor, we had Dr. Subhajit Basu from University of Leeds, Dr. Vivek Mandi, medico-legal and cyber law consultant. They have shared their valuable insights on our theme through the address delivered by them. Our technical session was chaired by Dr. Kumudini Chella and Dr. Uma Maheshwari, and papers on themes ranging from evolution of medicine from Ayurveda to AI, to papers discussing virtual medicines and designer embryo black market were presented by our participants. In the offline mode, the technical session was chaired by Professor Basu and Professor Madi. We had presentation and themes ranging from cyber attacks in medical industry to future innovation and digital health in AI. On day 2, we were joined by another legal luminary, Professor Dr. Venkatrao, Vice Chancellor, in a panel discussion along with Professor Basu and Professor Madi. Professor Dr. Ishita Chatterjee acted as a moderator for the panel discussion. We received a great insights with regards to ethical dance of AI in healthcare and changing scenario in healthcare. So it was great having all of you with us, sir. So next we are moving on to the certificate distribution. Now I would like to request Dean Ma'am to announce the Best Paper Presenter Award.
Shrutika Krishna Kumar. So congratulations, Shrutika. Is she there?
No, ma'am, she's not there.
Okay.
We'll distribute the certificates.
I would request, there are only few participants here. I would just read out the names so the guest could deliver the certificates if the participants is here. Yes. Author Vaishnavi and the co-author Rahul CJ. Author Vaishnavi. Madhumita V. Madhumita V. If the participants are here, I request them to collect their certificates from the guest. Ms. Janani, author, and Mr. Prakash Vijayakumar, co-author. Ms. Janani. Author Yogita Shrivi. Yogita Shrivi. Author Madhumita Mitra. Madhumita. Yeah. Puvarasan. Puvarasan. Anurag Datta. Thank you, participants and the guest. Now I request Professor Dr. Ishita Chatterjee to formally deliver the oath of thanks.
Announce the group photo.
Thank you, Dr. Kirtana. Good afternoon to Honorable Chief Guest, the dignitaries on the dais, faculty members, and dear students and participants. It is indeed an honor and privilege to stand before you today to deliver the vote of thanks for the valedictory session of the International Conference on Right to Health in Digital Era, Navigating Law, Ethics, and Policies. On behalf of the organizing committee, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed chief guest, Professor Dr. Venkat Rao sir, an eminent legal scholar and an inspiring academician. Sir, your profound insights and reflections on the intersection of health, law, and technology have truly set the tone for us to think beyond the conventional and embrace innovative ethical framework for the digital age. We are deeply grateful for you for your time and valuable contribution. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It is called a return gift from your end, sir. A special thanks to Shubhajit sir, whose expertise on cyber law and digital governance added a global perspective to our discussion. Sir, your thought-provoking panel discussion enlightened us on the complexities of safeguarding health rights in an ever-evolving digital landscape. Our sincere appreciation also goes to Dr. Vivek Madi sir for his engaging and insightful commentary on the ethical dimensions of digital health policies. Your perspective has helped us realize the importance of balancing innovation with human rights and ethical considerations. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our Dean, Professor Sri Sudha Madam, for her unwavering support and guidance throughout the organization of this conference. Ma'am, your leadership has been instrumental in making this event a grand success. A big thank you to all our organizing team members, volunteers, and technical support staff for their tireless efforts in ensuring the seamless execution of this event. Your dedication behind the scenes made everything possible. Lastly, but most importantly, I extend my heartfelt thanks to our audience, students, scholars, and professionals for your active participation, insightful questions, and unwavering enthusiasm. It's your engagement that truly brought us this conference to life. As we conclude this remarkable journey of knowledge and collaboration, let us carry forward the ideas and commitments shared today. Let us work together to shape a future where digital advancements empower, protect, and uphold the fundamental right to health for all. Thank you all once again and wish you a safe journey home. Let us continue this conversation beyond these walls because the right to health in the digital era is a mission that calls for collective and continuous effort. Thank you once again and have a wonderful day.
I request all the organizing secretaries to stand for the group photo with the guest.
Sir, Venkatrao sir, there's a request from our end and students' end, basically students' end, sir. You have to be a part of our national moot court judging competition, sir. You need to be the final judge, one of the final judges for a moot court.
I will always be a part and never be apart. Okay? And our symbiotic relationship at the beginning, and I'll be coming, okay? I'll associate myself, okay? Because I feel young in the company of students and my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Definitely. We'll look forward for your presence. Thank you so much. We'll break for? Yeah. First, national anthem. Requesting all the dignitaries as well as students to rise up for the national anthem.
जनहन मन हृदिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जाहे तव शुभ आशीष माहे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनहन मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
One small request from our end, requesting the dignitaries for a group photo with our faculty and students. Stand at the back. And his chairs to be removed and the table to be removed. Yeah.